Hey everybody, and welcome to whatever we're doing here today. We're just going to be talking about Netrunner. We're going to be discussing the second data pack in the Genesis cycle called Trace Amount. I'm Nam.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Jason.
And let's just talk about the pack.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay, question and answer time.
Sure.
Here we go.
You're playing big HB, and you just played a accelerated beta test, and look at, oh my gosh, all these giant bioroid ice. There's nothing you could possibly do to get through these, right? Bam!
Adonis.
E3 feedback.
I hate that card.
No, E3 feedback implants. Sorry, I missed the implants.
I hate that card.
Yep.
You hate this card?
Let the record show. I loved HB before everyone else did.
Yeah,
From the get-go, I was all HB all the time, and now everyone's, oh, you can't play anything but HB. And I'm like, I was there first. I'm not being hipster about it. I swear, I loved HB first.
So this was the big FU to HB.
I'm going to say this.
Really?
Yeah, Jeremy loved HB. He had this HB deck, which was Big Ice.
It was the Corp deck to build to beat, because it was that good.
This card stabbed my deck in the chest. The bleeding began.
Right,
Yeah.
and especially as HB has risen to a lot of prominence in the meta and in the card pool now with the first deluxe expansion in the horizon, this card is probably going to have some longevity because of the popularity of HB.
Now,
So good.
Now, let's just talk about what this card does before we move
yeah.
on. Whenever you break a subroutine on a piece of ice, you may pay 1 credit to break an additional subroutine of that ice.
We have a bioroid ice right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has 2 subroutines. I can spend a click to get through each one. I could spend 2 clicks to get through it. Or, with this, I could spend 1 click and 1 credit, which is ridiculous.
Right, and the one really crucial FAQ about this, it triggers itself. So say you have 4 subroutines on a bioroid ice. 1 click, 1 credit for the second, 1 credit for the third, 1 credit for the fourth.
Yep.
The 15 cost Giannis cries like a baby in the corner.
Oh, my
Because
poor
it only
Giannis.
took 1 click and 3 credits to get through. And now you basically laugh at Heimdall now because doesn't matter.
Break my heart.
Anymore.
Break my heart, that card. I use it as a runner, but Identify More is Corp, and HB is my Corp, and that card breaks my heart.
And this, you also can use it to back up some of the less efficient criminal breakers, such as Peacock or Aurora.
I like using this. I definitely use it in faction. Maybe run 1 copy if you don't want to, but 2 for consistency.
Right.
Out of faction, it's kind of, you have to actually choose and decide if you really want to put it in there.
But I do a lot.
One in Anarch I would run. Shaper, I think their breakers are just good enough that I don't necessarily need.
Here's the thing with this, though. I run this in Shaper. I usually don't run an Anarch, because usually Anarch I have kind of a world view for my deck.
Well, now for me, the big thing this pack, the first pack had 2 identities, 1 for HB.
And they were okay.
And they were okay, 1 for Wizard. This pack focused just on, well, it had cards for everything, but the ID and the slightly higher card count was Jinteki.
The only identity that was included in this data pack.
Yes, the trace amount's 1 identity is replicating perfection for Jinteki. And it's a powerful identity. It's one that really kind of came out of the blue. No one really predicted this. And it's a neat, novel effect to change how the game plays. Now, I still think the original core personal evolution is a little stronger, but this can be a very different play style and a lot of fun.
One of the things I like about this is if I'm making a strong HB deck, I could use one or the other. If I'm making a virus-centric, if I'm not trying to mill, if I'm just making a virus-centric, a
wizard deck,
Anarch deck, I could use Wizard.
You could
instead.
use Wizard and it'd be very functional. Yeah.
The 2 identities influence very different styles of play.
Yes.
Correct.
Which is really cool, and I really like that. It's one of the things I really commend Fantasy Flight for doing.
Yeah, and usually, if you do get Jinteki players, they're usually pretty hardcore fans of one way or the other. So it is kind of neat in that regard.
Yes.
I was a big fan of this for a while. I've gone back to the old one just because I like to just cause damage.
And pain. He
All right, before we move on, let's talk about what this one does.
Yes.
The runner cannot run on a remote server, but they're allowed to ignore this ability until the end of turn if the runner runs on a central server. Central being R&D, HQ, or Archives.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be successful. As long as they make the run, hit the first piece of ice and jack out, then they can ignore the ability and go elsewhere.
That being said, it is more efficient if you can make it through, just to get through. Unless
Usually, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, so why did you turn away from this? And
I still really like that.
Yeah.
But the thing with this is you want to have punishing ice on your centrals.
Yes.
You want to have something like obviously the best one would be like Neural Katana.
Yeah.
You want Neural Katana right in the front.
It's
So
3
if they want to
damage.
hit that, they're gonna have to either break it or take that 3 damage just to even look at one of your remotes.
Right. And
Which is
especially if
pretty
you
good.
do Replicating Perfection, you usually want to do a very horizontal, many remote style of Jinteki, and it can be very helpful for that. It basically gives an extra click cost and whatever danger you put in the way to check out, is that an economic asset I want to trash?
Also, it makes certain traps better than others. It makes certain ice better than others. It's a really cool thing, and this one's fun to play with.
Yes,
and it's
very
a very
much.
fun card.
The one caveat to this being, for example, Chum. We all like it. We all run it.
Yes, yeah.
The thing
It's
is,
nice.
Chum kind of goes against this strategy because if you happen to put something down and Chum in front of it, they see the Chum, they encounter it, but then they jack out after the
And
Chum.
then they suffer no pain.
Hey, no.
So,
Wait,
Hey,
what was that? You asked just a minute ago, why did I go away from this back to the other one?
Yeah.
For my beloved Chum.
Oh, okay, because you
Yeah,
love
yeah.
Chum
I
so
love
much. Yes.
Chum.
Yep. So
Yep.
that is the one thing with this. It's like if you want to work with Chum, this doesn't play as nicely with Chum as the other one. So,
All right, want to
Chum
do the
and
other
Archer's
Jinteki
still
songs?
running in the field, Jeremy.
yeah, go for the other 2 good Jinteki cards in the pack.
All right, other 2 good Jintekis. There's one that's a fun card and used for a good Jinteki thing, and then there's one that's just this
Good
is a
for
spike
everybody.
card. But we'll get the spike card next.
Yeah.
The next one is the agenda is Fetal AI. The agenda alone does nothing. You score it, you get no ability.
It's a
However,
5/2.
It's a 5/2.
And it's 5 for 2
5/2?
points, so it seems a
What
little
is
pricey.
that?
So what's going
Yeah.
on?
If the runner touches it, they instantly get 2 net damage.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Unless
What do you mean unless?
Unless
it's
in
in
archives.
archives, which I
Yeah.
forgot once. Yeah.
There it is. Most places it will cause the runner damage. So if it's an HQ, R&D, or a remote, they will take the damage.
Exactly. Even with Replicating Perfection, which doesn't innately, it always does too.
Your favorite Jinteki hand is what? 3 snares and 2 of these, maybe?
Yeah, it's a free mini snare.
Come and run HQ.
Yeah.
But then also the runner has to pay to get it.
Yeah, it's also like it's got like a
credits.
built-in mini red herrings on it, and that is still effective in archives. They always got to pay to.
That
to
is
take
so
it.
cool.
Correct.
It is
Especially
so
when
cool.
especially when I love it when it's on the deck. You
Yes,
see the
sir.
runner go like this. Let's see. Let me see if I can
Okay.
simulate this.
Simulation,
It's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
this
yeah.
right here. I love sitting where you're sitting right now
Yeah,
and
yeah.
seeing this.
This is a dramatization.
And I'm like, snare? Worse.
I have
They
a-
look at their hands, they put it down, and they look down and see 1 credit there.
Yep.
And they just go,
Yeah, so they take the damage and cannot steal it.
when it
It's
happens to me,
actually
I
the
can't
heck.
even be mad because it's just, I love this card. It's so
Yeah,
much
it's a
fun.
great card. This one is basically an auto-occlude engine.
It's definitely
For me.
really is.
Yeah, for me.
It's
Me
definitely
too.
also happened to me where I got this, and then here's the thing: I had an imp out, but no money, so I ended up imping it just to get it into the archives because it was less protected.
Which is good.
It's good. It's
Yeah,
fine.
really
it's a good way to deal
It's
with
been
it.
done.
Yeah.
Fetal AI. The one big thing that I do like about Fetal AI is if you happen to use the base set Jinteki identity, if they access it and they score it, that's 3 net damage. So that can be a huge amount. So they have to watch out for that.
Okay.
So the other one.
All right,
which-
spiky card.
Yep, spiky card is Trick of Light. It's a 1-cost operation for Jinteki to move 2 advancement counters from one card that's installed to another card that's installed that can be advanced.
At first glance, you look at it, it's, oh, so it's for a trap they didn't run on. I can reuse those counters for something else.
Which is not a bad use.
Which is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you read more into it, what's that one piece of ice that we all really like? Ice
Ice
wall.
wall.
Ice wall, you put 2 counters on it, and well, that's 2 advancements with 1 action. This is a great fast advance card.
Especially HB that already has biotic labor, sometimes they supplement with Trick of Light.
It's very, very useful.
And you're already getting a lot of use out of the counters on something like Ice Wall for strength. This
So you
is a
can
great
use
way
the counters to
exploit it.
protect the agenda, and then use the things to put the counters on
Yes.
the agenda.
So-
It's
Right.
really good.
And it only costs 1.
Yeah.
It's
So,
so
I mean,
good.
it's so good.
With that, think of it this way. This is great. In HB, say you're playing Engineering the Future. I did this with my Fast Advance. Say you're playing Engineering the Future. When you install the card, you get a credit. So you could get a 3, say you get a 3-2, accelerated beta test.
Yep.
First click, install it, get a credit. And then you only need to advance it once, and then spend 1 on that. So you need
Works out
1 credit in the
beautifully.
beginning of your turn.
Works
1
out.
credit, and then you can score the agenda.
And
That is crazy. So this was Jinteki centric. So there was not those 3 cards. There was 4. So let's see. You like flavor text, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I like flavor text. Here we go.
Yep.
Peace and violence, both must lead to the same place. So yeah, that's Sensei.
Yeah.
So what do we want to talk about next?
Yeah, I think there were some good Shaper cards, right?
Good Shaper cards!
Yeah. Okay.
Well, all right, we'll go.
Okay, let's
All right.
seriously.
Okay.
Though.
So let's read Sensei.
Let's read Sensei. So
Okay.
it's another very combo-y, needs more ice behind it, Jinteki ice, which unfortunately Jinteki has too much of already.
It's an order matters ice that is not as good as the other orders matters ice.
Right, and
That's
so
true.
for
I'll
what
agree
it
with that,
does,
yeah.
it is a 5 strength code gate, 3 to res. For the remainder of this run, each piece of ice encountered except Sensei gains an end the run routine after all its routines. And the place I really want, I wish this would work with Bioroids, but I've never been able to pull it off.
I wish it could work with
Sad
anything,
face.
but here's the problem.
Yes,
You know the
yes.
biggest problem with this? The biggest problem with this is not only do you need to put it in front of ice, not only do you need it, you want a big thing, you want to have it last to put it up there, so at that point, it's not even going to help you that much anyways. The big problem with this is, it's still 3 money to res.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's 3 money to res, plus the costs of putting it in front of ice.
And
so you put it in front
waiting
of
to
one,
put it there,
it's 1.
yeah.
If you put it in front of, so it's 1, so it's 4 in front of one
Yeah,
piece of ice.
yeah.
In front of 2 pieces of ice, it's 5.
5.
And then it's 6. And then it's 7. And it's not even necessarily that great.
No.
Like, how many pieces of ice do you have to put it in front before it actually becomes cost effective, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you put it in front of 1, it's 2 pieces of ice, but if they can break through the one behind it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
2, then maybe depending if they're different types or so. 3, maybe, but then it's already really expensive at that point.
But let's look at other ones like Cell Portal, better.
Yes.
Chump,
Yeah,
Better.
better, way
Yeah.
better. Whirlpool, better.
Oh, yeah, Whirlpool.
Well,
oh.
I'm even that. But yes,
Well,
better,
but I mean,
but I don't like
still
Whirlpool.
better than
So
Sensei.
I don't
No,
like
see,
Whirlpool.
I
but-
like Whirlpool, but anyway, okay,
Yeah.
we'll talk about
We'll talk
Whirlpool,
about
when,
Whirlpool
when
later.
it comes out.
But better than Sensei. Would you debate that?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Most of the time, yes. This is
Okay.
situational, though. But I want it to work.
And
in
here's
a
the thing, it's a strength 5, but it's a code gate, and as we discussed, there's already good code gate breakers. If they just end up breaking it anyway, then it's pretty much all for nothing. So, is 6 credits worth?
Well, and here, the other thing to think about in terms of money. Say you add an end the run routine. Most of the time, they've already boosted the breaker to strength. It's often just 1 more credit for them. That's it. Most of the time. Good breakers, 1 more credit to break 1 more routine. Why get a 5 strength code gate when you just 1 extra credit, 2 extra credit?
Yeah, no,
Just not
it's
Just not there.
I'll start with
Worth
this one.
mentioning.
Yeah, let's go
Worth
with
mentioning. Let's
this
go.
one's fun.
Yeah.
I love this. This is a fun card. Encryption Protocol. In fun games, I have a lot of fun with this card. I'm never bringing it to a strong deck, though.
Yeah.
No.
No.
It's a fun card, though. I think it's so cool. It's 0. It's 2 trash costs. The trash cost of all installed cards is increased by 1. So technically, it's a 3 trash cost.
It's an asset.
Yep.
Yeah,
But-
and it's fun to just throw them out there
Yeah.
and make things kind of crazy.
Yeah, it protects itself and it makes pad campaigns last longer.
This
There's
is
good
how I
uses.
would describe this. This is a troll card.
It
If
is.
you want to troll somebody, you play Encryption Protocol.
And more than 1.
Yes.
Yes.
And you play the horizontal games. So
Or
you're playing
that.
tons of remotes.
All right, I'm gonna have 5 left to kill that Sansan.
6 now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
so
fun.
the moments are good. The other HB card, I think, is in the running for one of the worst Bioroids. I'm not saying one of the worst cards. There are worse, much worse. But one of the worst Bioroids. This is Noise's wet dream, because it lets him put viruses back on top of his deck that he can then mill more with.
Yeah.
I've 1, 2 viruses. You can just cycle the viruses by running Sherlock 1.0. It's sad because it doesn't trash the program. It's a trace to
love
put
the
the
art
program
so
on top
much.
of their deck.
They wasted such great
It's
art.
such a
The
cool
art
name.
is
Such good
amazing.
art.
The
And
robot was
just-
like the hologram Sherlock stuff.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love the art, and it's
Yeah,
so
just-
wasted.
I know. Just doesn't pan
Okay,
out.
I feel like Sherlock solves mysteries, and how does putting something back on top, how do you see something again, and then that solves some mystery, right?
How does Mega Bounce solve mysteries? I don't know how
Yeah.
Mega Bounce solves
I
mysteries.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's a century for
Like-
5, they probably won't be breaking it, but most of the time it'll either help you, like, Femme Fatale, sure they'll have to pay a bunch of money.
But then they might get a different target.
But they can
that might
choose a
help
different one.
them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so-
but what's that in the upper corner?
Cost
6.
6.
It costs 6.
6!
What the?
What were they thinking? Yeah, this was a what were they thinking in terms of
Yes.
cost.
If it was cheaper, I think
Cheaper. Oh, if that
it
was,
was cheap.
4,
Like, oh my god.
I
It'd
would
be
so
good.
use this and be all over
Yeah.
the place.
And they're trace 4s too, so they're good traces.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not. It's not
Exactly.
a horrible card, but it never works like you want.
Yeah.
It's one of those cards that never works like you want it to. You try to shove it into stuff. It's not unplayable,
Right.
Right.
but it just it's so
Yeah.
disappointing.
I know.
It is a Bioroid, so it'd get that +1 strength for that one time, but if they want to have the programs put on top anyway, or
actually, let's. You mind if we jump to the end of the thing there, because we're going to talk about a card, another card that I want to make it work so bad,
and just
I just can't make it work. ChiLo City Grid.
Yes.
Has someone made this work? Can you show me how?
Please.
Yeah. Over tagging decks, maybe.
Malhaku, MALHAKU. Send me a message.
BGG.
A BGG, at
so,
BGG.
So what this does is whenever they are successful trace during a run, it gives an extra tag. So you think, oh, double your tags, double your money.
It just never works like I want it to.
No.
And that when I first saw it, I saw that 6 trash, and I'm like, this is gonna be baller.
Yeah. And what upgrade do you want in NBN? Sansan. And the fact that this is a region.
It's a
one region per server.
One per server.
You can't put a Sansan.
The thing is,
Nope.
and here's the thing: when I first opened this pack, I remember first opening this pack and loving that card. And the
Yes.
other NBN card is Big Brother. 0 operation, play only if the runner's tagged, give the runner 2 tags. I remember loving this card and going, and this one. This is way better.
It is way
In
better.
practice, this is
It's
way
way
better.
better.
Yes.
And you can make breaking news tags stick if you have an extra click the turn you score it. You know, you keep them there. There's a lot of good uses for Big Brother.
ChiLo will only be a surprise one turn. Every time after that, they can always work around it because they'll know they'll get it.
They know what's going on.
And they can eliminate the tag, just by running early.
And they don't trash it. They just deal with it.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And
So
it's such a
it's-
bummer.
Yeah.
Whereas Big Brother is, I mean, it's not a
not-
meta shaping card,
No,
but
not by any means,
I will
but-
say when I don't want tags and I see when the corpse turn starts and they look excited about to grab for a card, I'm like, please not, no.
Big Brother.
Come on.
Yeah, the 2 tags can hurt.
How much money do I need to remove all these
4
tags?
tags, 2 clicks,
Multiple
painful,
clicks,
painful.
yeah,
No, because but at this point it's 3. It's minimum
It's
3.
three.
Yeah, well,
because they
minimum
have
3
one
because you
already.
already
You already have one.
Yeah.
So you're like,
So-
1, okay, 2 credits, click, I'm good. I can still do stuff my next turn.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, boom, you're like,
Turn's gone.
It's that, or their really awesome Aesop's is gone, or their Armitage
Wild
code
Side,
busting,
or Armitage code
Yeah,
busting.
so I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many good targets for this in every faction. So
Personal workshop with 2 viruses.
Oh, Personal Workshop with everything under the
That's-
sun.
Yeah,
What-
yeah.
what
And we'll
hap-
get to that card later.
Oh yeah, that's right. That
I got C-sourced, and it was an NBN. I got a C-sourced, and I'm like, okay, they don't have enough money to deal with this right now. They don't have enough money to start taking my
Right.
stuff out now. So I'm good. They're gonna get 2. They have no
Yeah.
money. They
Zero-
got me a tag. They use
zero
all their money on
credit.
that. I'm good. And then they play that. I'm like, crap. Now I don't have enough money to deal with it by next turn.
Yes.
And they killed my stuff.
Yep.
yeah.
So.
And most of the time, it's always economy cards or things.
Oh, by the way, I didn't remove the tags that time. I had 4 things on the Personal Workshop, so I paid to get those off, the 2 I wanted off.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then you
And then
lost
the other
the
one
rest, and then
died.
it's gone. Yeah,
Yep.
it's tough.
Oh,
It's tough.
that's harsh.
I really wanted to make that work, and that was just better.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've mentioned it a couple times. Let's
Yeah.
just talk about Personal Workshop really quick. Okay, it's in a later data set.
Sorry.
It's in
All
pack
right.
number 3, Cyber Exodus.
Okay, let's put it this way. It's a really good resource.
And trashing resources can really
Really
Really-
hurt
really
because
hurt.
there's another card in here.
Yep, and it's a good time for it. So let's go to one of the 2 neutral corp cards in here, Freelancer, which
I've never played in a deck.
I've never
I've
played
never
in
played
a
in
deck
a
either.
deck, but I've had it played against me.
Yeah, it
Are you
does.
serious?
Painful.
Who?
Painful.
There was one of the he showed up to League Night. He didn't join the league.
Yes.
But he was a newer player, so he wasn't necessarily as experienced.
Oh.
But so most of the stuff he was doing wasn't going through very well.
Right.
I will admit he was very inexperienced. However, he did have a bunch of freelancers in there, and when he hit with those,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, ow, it's suddenly a game. All right.
Oh, it can really mess you up.
Oh, yeah,
and I've had
definitely.
this in a really good NBN players deck, especially, and I've just eaten crow when, the big Armitage that has lots of credits left goes away, and
Yep.
other
Yeah.
cards just go away, and it can hurt. Situational.
But
it can be
the thing with it
best
is
on
here's my
but-
case against this card. Here's
Yeah.
the big reason I've never used it.
Yep.
The big reason I've never used it is because
You can
all
do
it is
it
doing
anyway.
is enhancing a skill I already have.
You can pay
Right.
2 and a click to trash a resource
And if
whenever
I'm
they
going to
have
enhance a
tag.
skill I already have, I'm not going to enhance the tag to kill a resource skill. I'm going to enhance my
Scorch-
money skill
scorched-
or
or
my
scorched to
drawing
murder
skill.
skill,
Right.
or-
Yeah. I'm going to enhance the
Yeah.
skills I have on that, like my little corp helper card that I never use anymore because we know the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to enhance the other ones, not that one.
Or get abilities that you can't do normally.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Like if you think about this, right? Okay, so this just makes that one action more efficient, and there's a requirement. So that's like 2 strikes against it already.
Well, there's a requirement for that skill anyways. All it does is condense 2 of those fires into 1 and saves you the money.
Which is
don't get me
4
wrong, it's
credits.
very good. It's very
Yeah.
efficient. But for how often I actually have the tags and I'm trashing resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
there's better tag punishment.
they have to have
really
the tag, and you have to have this in hand.
You know, I think personally would be the best way of using this card is make them more scared of tags.
Right.
Is like accidentally drop it out of your hand. Oh,
Right.
sorry. Then they're like, oh crap, now I have to really get rid of those tags.
Now the problem is this only kills resources. So tag me criminals with plascretes out. Don't care.
Actually, what Jeremy said about just accidentally showing it, instead of just going the oh whoops, remember, I don't think it was you, but you guys were there. I was playing against that other guy, and he accidentally flipped his hand as corporation. I happened to see what was in it, but if you did it inadvertently and made them think, hey.
I like to do the accidental threat.
Yeah.
You've seen me do this in card games.
Oh, no.
I'd be like, okay, now there's no way I'd ever have a freelancer. I mean, it would be silly enough to run a freelancer in their head. I mean, seriously.
But see, that's very deliberate. I think
That was very deliberate.
The fact that if you are trying to keep it more like that one
On the down low.
There was this one time I tricked him into running into a trap based on what I saw his board position was, and I just said, oh man, you can't get there. And then I realized that he could based on his resources, but I faked being all pissed off.
Yeah, he did.
So,
and I jumped on it and bit.
and bam!
There's Powergrid Overload and Amazon Industrial Zone. Now, Amazon Industrial Zone, to me, it's a fun card you build the deck around. And it's something that I think they really put in here, seeding future Wayland cards that can only be advanced when rezzed, that never really panned out.
Yeah, if we're going to peel to the future veil again, man, the ones they built for this were not good.
Yeah,
I'm going to say that I've seen one good use for this. It's a future Jinteki deck. There'll be other Jinteki cards where this... Okay, so what this upgrade allows you to do is whenever you install a piece of ice protecting a server, you may immediately res it, lowering its res cost by 3.
So, cost effective.
Cost effective, it's good, but then it ruins the surprise, which most of the time you do want as the corporation ice player anyway.
Definitely.
It depends, though. If I have something threatening, you know what'd be cool with this is you said Jinteki. Now, obviously, I haven't done this, so I haven't experimented with it, but just a fun thing. A fun thing. Imagine this is a fun thing. I want a big server that come at me, bro. This is a come at me, bro card.
Yeah.
All right, Wall of Thorns for 5. Neural Katana for 1. Neural Katana for 1. Chum for 0.
Yeah.
You can... Oh, hey, look, I'm putting an agenda in here, and I'm advancing it. Look, I advanced it. It's not Edge of World. It's an agenda. I'm going to advance it some more.
And then what
could it be?
And it's a Junebug.
Or it doesn't. Or it could be an agenda.
Or it could be an agenda.
You know,
Yeah.
and you've read this giant fort for pretty cheap,
Right.
so that could be... But again, that's a fun thing.
And
It's
that's a
not
hypothetical, and I've built decks to try to leverage this. And it's fun to play, but not so effective.
I found that it's great if you run decks that run a lot of upgrades and you end up putting a ton of upgrades all together. And either they can't trash them all, it'll help you in the cost of that.
Now, the other one I mentioned was Powergrid Overload, which I've really never seen run.
I haven't used it.
I've seen it
But
run.
it's one of
I
the
haven't used
few.
it.
It's one of the main ways that, and at this point in that when Trace Amount was released, this was the only way the Corp could kill an installed piece of hardware.
Think about it this way. After this card, it took 4 months for any other effect to destroy hardware.
Yes. So and there's only 2, to my understanding.
There's only 2?
Still
There's only 2.
yep.
So this is only one. This is one of the 2 that came out in all of Genesis cycle. And this was the first.
3 if you count the one that eliminates something that might provide it but doesn't eliminate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
yeah.
So it's arguable.
Yeah, okay.
But
yeah.
anyway, okay,
and
continue.
this can hypothetically be an answer to Plastrete Carapace. Use it to murder it with money and then be able to do the meat damage with Scorched Earth. But it's too niche. It's expensive because you have to exceed what they pay by the cost of the hardware you're installing. So say they have 10 bits and they really want to keep the Plastrete to not die.
So they can...
You need to front load this trace to be more than their 10 bits and more than the cost.
So obviously this is for killing toolbox, right?
Of course, yes, definitely.
Clearly, you use it to
but even killing the Plascretes, which you kind of want this for, you have to outbid them and say they call your bluff. Kill my Plascrete. If they don't flatline the runner after you do this, you just wasted our money.
No, it's not worth it. And by the way, I will say, there's only 2 ones that count. Because the one you're referencing doesn't kill Plascrete and doesn't kill E3, so who gives a crap?
That's true, you're right.
Yeah. Last agenda, anyone else want to take this one?
I will take this one.
Go for it.
Alright, this is Executive Retreat. This is a really interesting card to me. I know most people poo-poo this card.
No, I like the card.
I like this card a lot.
I like it.
But it also has an effect that I wish it was in the old Netrunner a lot, and I wish would come back. And the thing is, when you score it, shuffle HQ into R&D, and then you can spend a counter and draw 5 cards.
Your whole hand.
Now, this brings up something in the old Netrunner. I don't know if you remember. There was a lot of effects where you could cycle your hand. You could go, I'm going to dump my whole hand and draw that many cards, or I'm going to dump my whole hand and draw 5 cards, or I'm going to dump my whole hand back into the deck.
And if the Corp got screwed with sitting on too many agendas, there were safety nets for them to put them back in R&D and bury them.
I wish we had some more.
And there's only a few.
There's this one.
There's that and rework. And
rework is one card.
It's one card, and it's just too. It's not worth the card slot.
I miss the big hand cycles. There used to be a node. It was a node. You put it in.
A node was the asset version.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry. Yes. It's asset. There was an asset. You put it in, spend a click, dump your hand, draw that many new cards.
Yeah, and some of those were, I think, a little too powerful, but they were there, and I haven't seen them come back.
Let's face it, at the point of this pack, it was already starting. Some people were saying, I think the runner's more powerful than the Corp.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's very prevalent. In fact, we've had an intense email conversation recently where I'm falling into that camp slightly, and they're still... I'm getting fought against,
but I'm
falling in that camp slightly, and I think those shuffle effects
would help. Definitely.
That's a big help right there, because it mitigates the luck problem.
Yes, it mitigates the hand of agenda.
I agree that being able to put more cards back into R&D will help the Corp. The problem is they want to, they don't want to do something too stupidly powerful that allows for.
I know, but I mean, you don't have to have that. Granted, that asset was very powerful, but even. This is a 5-3 agenda. If this was just a 4-2 agenda,
it would be so much better. Yeah.
Oh man, it's so great.
Now the fact that it's a 5-3, it's so hard to get, and if the runner happens to get it, then you still don't shuffle your hand back in. Maybe if
it can leave you vulnerable, and they're like, "Oh, you were trying to score that."
Maybe if the ability was when you scored it, or if the runner stole it, then you got to shuffle it in.
That would be awesome. Oh my gosh, I've never even thought of that. That would be so awesome.
Yeah, I think it'd be really good because then it still mitigates the luck problem, even if they get this.
And you don't get the counter, so it's not all benefit.
Yeah,
it's still good.
You still have to use clicks to draw more cards. But the problem is because it's hard for the Corp to score this and get the effect, and if your hand was screwed already,
you're screwed worse because it's 3 points.
Exactly. So it's 3 and then whatever agendas that you had in your hand that you needed to get rid of in the first
But this is a nice 5-3, especially in fast advanced decks, as a replacement for, say, priority requisition. So I do like it in those kind of decks.
I like that card a lot, and when it's one of those cards that I'm always like, I guess I'll put this in as my 3-pointer. But when I pull it off, it really works really well.
Yeah, the benefit is definitely
it's
there.
not a power card, but it's when I first cracked this pack, I was like, But I like that effect, and also the more I've played with, the more I remember all those other cards in the old Netrunner that really did that effect.
That really
and
was
every
helpful.
time I'm playing those league games where I'm like, oh look, agenda, another agenda. I want them to draw next, another agenda. I'd be like, oh man, I really could use a shuffle effect.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, it's really unique right now. It's the only one. So even up through the end of the Genesis cycle, there's just that one card that does the one, but everything else, nothing does your whole hand.
This is the major good way to do it, even though there are costs to it.
And it's attached to a card you already need, but I like it.
Yeah,
no, I think it's good. It's just certain archetypes don't need it.
Okay, well, let's go over to the runner.
Yep.
Do you want to start with, we just did neutral. You want to start with neutral?
Yeah, let's do the one neutral.
Sure.
Because it's pretty mediocre, but I think it plays a nice
Well, and this was one
it's a role player, as you would say.
It is a role player. It fills a lot. You know what this card is? This is putty. It fills a lot of cracks all at once. I want an extra link, but I want to run a global sec, and I don't want to spend influence on Rabbit Hole or Helpful AI or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Boom, link. I need memory, but I want to spend influence on Akametsu, and my consoles are tough to get up. Or I only own one core set, so my console's not coming up.
Right.
Boom.
Good
Expensive
memory.
for those effects, but it can be useful when you need it. It does the job.
And no influence, you can't really complain about that. If you're Kate, it's slightly cheaper. If you're Shaper, you're playing modded anyway, so you just modded this and play. It does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
It fills neutral space very well.
Yeah. It's a good utility card.
It's a card when I need it. Oh man, I need another source for this. Oh, there's this right
Gives
there.
you link if you absolutely need it for whatever reason.
No one's ever going to wow at it being a deck, though. Don't be scared of it just because it's not a giant effect.
Yeah, definitely.
If you can't find anything else to fit it in and you had more programs than just the icebreakers, sure, why not?
Speaking of giant effects, how about that account siphon? Pretty giant effect, right?
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah.
Man, that's 4 influence. That's really tough.
That's a lot of influence.
But I'm playing Anarch. How about I do mini account siphon?
Whoa, Vamp.
Vamp. Do you guys have any stuff? I haven't really used this much, to be honest, because all my Anarch strategies, again, I'm so focused on something, and I haven't really done the denial strategy.
Right. When this came out, it took me a while to get an appreciation for it, because one of the problems Anarch had in the core was a kind of lack of economy. And this is basically, you make a run in HQ, for every bit you pay, the corp loses it. If you have more money than the corp, this is wonderful. Initially, Anarch tended not to. I didn't really get the potency of this until you really get the economy rolling, especially for Anarch. Booming. Because if you can get it booming, if you can say if you splash in some magnum opuses, you can do some damage with a Vamp and then be able to run in through some unres ice if you make them broke.
Now the one thing, compare this to Account Siphon. You have to pay X and they lose X, so it's an equal amount. Whereas Account Siphon, you're getting 2 for 1, but you don't have to worry about the tags.
Yeah.
So you save up the actions.
Well, there's one tag on it.
Well, it's
take one tag.
But I mean,
it's not as bad.
It's by no means Account Siphon.
Oh no.
But if you want to keep that money out of that corporation's hand, it does the job.
Right.
It does the job.
It's not Account Siphon. Account Siphon is Die Hard. This is Die Hard 4.
But and say
the only thing that resembles it has John McClane. Everything else sucks. But it still has John McClane. If you want John McClane, you get your John McClane.
Right. But the thing is, you can get rid of, if you have more money than the corp does, you can get rid of an unlimited amount of corp money.
Okay, I changed my mind. That's Die Harder, because Die Hard 4 is too mean. Vamp.
Die Harder. Yeah. Okay. Now, in order to help the Anarchs get an economy, we've got another card.
Say, this pack, Jason, it read your mind. Have some Anarch economy.
I know, have some Anarch economy.
Okay, Anarch economy. So we have Liberated Accounts. Personally, I think it's alright. Jeremy doesn't like it as much. And
I love it in Anarch.
And he loves it.
I love it in Anarch. Only in Anarch. Don't splash out of Anarch, please.
Here's the thing with that card is, first of all, I saw people pulling Magnum Opus in Anarch and running that. And it's the exact same efficiency. It's not better than Magnum Opus. 1. 2, the thing I don't like about that is, yes, it makes a lot of money. But every time I want to play it, I have 3 credits. I'm like, man, I need some money. I need some money. And even if I draw a sure gamble, that's only 2 credits away in the play.
Yeah.
This, if I have 3 credits, and that was the card I drew, I don't have enough time to even play it that turn.
Yeah, you can't.
Let alone use it that turn.
Yeah.
That's my problem with it. Every time I draw it, I'm like, yeah, that does it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks
the one.
for nothing.
Yeah. You want this like opening hand with Anarch to get it. Game 1, put it in play, and then you have a nice bursty credit for 4 credits for a click thing you can count on.
Yeah.
In Anarch, I do like it as a source of economy. You need to supplement it with things. I like it. I like it in
I've
Anarch.
played a while because every time I played it, every time I had it in the deck, every single time.
I understand.
Have the 6.
I understand
it
what
hurt, but
they're both saying about this. It's very expensive initially, so that's why Jeremy doesn't like it. That's part of the reasons why sometimes I can't play it, or it becomes a hassle. But once you get it out, if you can get it out, it works amazing.
Oh, it's a great
it's fine.
I'm not saying it's not a good card. It just hasn't worked for me.
Yeah.
I don't have a love affair with this card. By
I don't have a love affair, but I've seen it work well. So for Anarch, it can be helpful.
So I would say in Anarch, it's definitely worth running. But in Shaper, there's probably no need because you have Magnum Opus. And then even in Criminal, there's so many other... So really, it's just Anarch.
And as the cycle went on, there was enough neutral economy and enough other economy cards that, other than Anarch, you don't really have a need for this anymore.
So overall, I'd say it's pretty decent. I think it supplements the Vamp card very well because they would play nice together.
Yes.
But other than that...
It's a quality card. I'm just putting forth... They're not kidding. The card just doesn't...
Yeah.
Criminal! Right. Satellite uplink. Exposed cards. It's good.
Yeah.
I've used it to good effect.
I ran it a lot way back in my early days before I knew how to play, and then after a while I just ended up cutting it.
Part of the thing with this, though, is Criminal has gotten... It started early. I mean, it started in the initial pack. Inside Job, Account Siphon. They have so many powerful events that I can, dictate the flow of the game that I don't even need to check stuff.
Right, exactly. And I know, I don't buy into the camp of expose effects or training wheels. I think there is a place for expose effects. They can be very important, but paying money and needing to expose 2 things at once doesn't always happen. Sometimes you just want to know about one card. There's, infiltration, if I want that effect, I think infiltration is better.
Yeah, this does cost 2 credits.
Doesn't do it for me.
And you're not going to splash it with 3 in.
No, you're not going to splash it with 3
influence.
But to be honest, every once in a while I'll throw an infiltration 2 in a deck nowadays, but I haven't run this in a deck in a long time.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this, right? When I was inept I ran 3 of these because I wanted to know. I found that I was never using all of them ever. Like, I would always have them in hand. I would just be like, oh, I'll just lose it to damage because I'd rather have something else in hand. So maybe 1. And if
maybe 1 is criminal. In fact,
yeah, as criminal. I've gotten better at reading people, so I haven't needed it as much. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Jeremy seems increasingly more agitated at how well I seem to read him.
No, it's, well, partially also you'll ignore me when I start putting on my fronts.
That too.
And that works pretty well.
It works amazing.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm not a poker face, but I'll throw the deception game down really solid. So these guys, having played me a bunch, have learned to, when Jeremy starts talking, stare at the board and don't listen. And suddenly you start doing better.
Just look empirically at the board.
Yeah.
Look empirically at the board, or just run in, waiting to take it on the jump. Just run in. Okay, hit me. Do your worst. I'm gonna take it.
Do it now.
Which has also led to, the thing is though, you guys doing that, which has led to my most fun deck to play, which is Ouch.
Yes.
I built a deck that is designed just to smack the runner in the face, and it's funny. Ouch does not have a great winning record, but when the game's over, I'm all like, I lost, and the runner's like, oh my god, I hate my life.
It's stress.
Oh my
god. Even when you win, you want to rip. Good Jinteki Personal Evolution deck, right there.
You win even when you don't win.
Next the other criminal card, Compromise Employee. Solid card, get a credit when the corp res is nice, have recurring credit for traces.
Yeah,
it's nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's kind of virtual link, and if you get it out early, especially with some of the other criminal identity that helps you get it out early, it can really make a lot of money on those early face checking runs.
Yeah, it's nice. The key thing with this is, I see tons. We still do it. Remember to take your credit.
Yeah, the recurring. Use it on traces.
Remember, no, not the recurring.
No.
When
remember
they
res the ice.
Remember it.
Yeah,
I forget it still, and I'm like, like 2 turns ago.
Yeah, and it can be good in multiples. You gain 2 or 3 credits when they res 1 ice.
Yep.
Oh,
can really
there's my money to break the ice.
And with Forge Activation Order, it's either a payback, or if you have more, you get money back effectively.
Yeah,
so.
good economy card.
It's a flavorful card too. I like flavorful cards.
Yeah. Compromised Employee. There's no flavor text, but if there was any,
but I mean,
what would it say?
The runner has a guy under his thumb. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. The blackmail. You just love it. Shaper card in this pack. Snowball. I like this as a in-faction barrier breaker for Shaper. Now, I think Battering Ram gets kind of a bad rep, especially because it's 2 MU.
I personally think Battering Ram is better except for the memory.
Yeah, except for the memory. If it wasn't for the memory,
if I need that memory, Snowball works.
Yeah, but Snowball is doable. I prefer to splash for a Corroder as Shaper, but this is a reasonable in-faction.
It works.
It works.
Yeah, it does what you need to do.
You know what I like to do if I have tutors? I'll do 1 Corroder, 1 of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
if I draw it and I'm not getting tutors, fine.
And
but if I'm tutoring, I tutor for Corroder.
Yep. Yeah. And it cuts the influence cost of that effectively in half.
Right.
Now, would I ever splash for this anywhere else? No. Because it's 2. Corroder is 2.
2 influence.
Corroder owns this
cost
card.
for...
It's the exact same card except 1 strength higher and 2 cost less.
Yeah.
Yes. So
it doesn't have that rolling effect.
But the rolling
has the rolling
effect
had any?
I have never had the rolling effect.
It's affected me, but I've never had it work for me.
I've never had it work for me. For every subroutine Snowball breaks, it's +1 credit.
But here's the thing: that would require that they have multiple barriers in a row.
Yes.
Wow, Nom, isn't it a good thing that we all had changes of clothes after we spilled our drinks at the exact same time?
Yes, totally.
Exactly.
I do live here. All of my shirts are just in the other room.
Well, I had some in the car, so that worked.
You know, that's why we are in different positions now.
Exactly.
Yes.
So these last 2 cards that we didn't do, and we did clean off the table because we spilled everything, so that was crappy.
Exactly.
Sleeve your cards.
Yeah, sleeve your cards. It makes life wonderful. This one is Snowball.
I look at it this way. It's kind of the way what they're going for with this. Even though it doesn't have the cloud, the no memory without link thing, they're going for it. What Zool is to Gordian, this is to Battering Ram, and it's a solid icebreaker. It's really expensive. I find whenever it's in my hand, it's like dang it, it's 4.
Right. You always want it to be Corroder.
Yeah, that too.
Like the starting strength of 1, it's pretty low, and even though it's only 1 to break and 1 to increase strength, if it broke a subroutine, right?
Yes.
Then it gets +1 strength for the rest of the run. But
I was gonna say, how often is it relevant? It's never been relevant for me.
It's rare. Once or twice, it saved me a bit. You break a wall with one subroutine, the next wall is one cheaper.
Most people aren't going to put barrier, 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 so pretty much it almost never really works out that way. So
right. Decent in faction barrier breaker.
If you're tight on memory, if you got plenty of memory to work with, I think battering ram is
probably a better choice.
Yeah.
It's better. However, this is it's okay. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
It does the job if you don't have the influence recruiter.
Yep.
Here's my point. If you're already in Shaper, so usually MU is not a really big issue because you have a bunch of other cards.
Depends how you build your deck.
Right. You could build it different, but that's I think the primary factor here is if you want to have less MU and not out of influence for a barrier breaker.
Yeah.
The final card,
Notoriety. This is an event. Play only if you made a successful run on R&D, HQ, and archives this turn. Add Notoriety to your score area as an agenda worth 1 agenda point. It's a very unique card.
Yes, because it's a runner card that allows you to get agenda points.
Well, it's a source of agenda points in the runner deck. That's the only card. It's the only card right now that does that. Was there any cards in the old game that did that?
There were a few, but
I try to remember. There wasn't many.
I'm pretty sure there were a few, but they were rare too.
Regardless.
Right, and this is one of those cards that say you might need to use tricks to try to get. It's tough to make all 3 runs and then have the 1 click left over to pay the 1 to get it. But very unique, very cool idea. Haven't always seen it work out.
I think with very aggressive decks this will work, but you have to be sure, so it has to be both an aggressive deck and an econ deck, because you had to build up economy first to get through all 3 servers. This is presumably later in the game. If you get this like turn 1 and they haven't put up any major ice, that'd be glorious, right?
The thing with Notoriety is I find it's kind of like a borderline card. I cut it last a lot of times. I try to put it in a deck. However, a case I could make for Notoriety is the tension. You know, you have that back and forth, the tug of war of a game. Anytime I'm a corp and the runners just run, all of a sudden 4th click they throw down Notoriety, I'm like, oh crap, things have gone horribly wrong. You know, you ever get that feeling when it gets scored against you? So I mean, there's that aspect of it, and the game is all about the tempo and the tension and that tug of war. So anything that might help you a bit in that. Also, there's so many decks nowadays that run, well, I mean, you either get 2 3-pointers or 3 2-pointers. Sometimes you close it out with that, because the corp could be sitting there waiting for an agenda going, all right, I got R&D pretty well protected. They can get in, but they don't have any interface or anything like that. Right. So you go all in to get into that R&D, then hit HQ and archives quick, and you win the game. Because it's a surprise. It's not like the corp knows it's coming, unless you already scored 1.
Right. Or how many times have you had 6 points as the runner, and you got to that point where agendas became dry, and it took you forever.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
because then the corp could kind of sit there and lord over it, like, all right, this is still on my terms. I still got a chance, like a 6-6 game type thing.
Yeah.
And I've seen games end where the runner goes, yeah, no. So
I've scored Notoriety a few times. I put it in a couple decks. I don't think it's impossible. It's a little bit difficult sometimes.
There are a few times as a one-up. What's really cool is if you get it early and you score it, then they're scared of it. At any point, data sucker is the kind of thing that makes the corp protect all 3 servers. But scoring one of these early may force them to protect all 3 servers.
Right.
To the point where they're spreading thin more and you can hit other areas.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I've had mixed results doing that because you got to get it early and do it. But I have won 1 or 2 games with.
That one
make them frantic. Make them frantic a bit, just a bit, and also it's a point. So you know.
So thoughts on Trace Amount in general?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
I obviously remember all of the Trace Amount cards since we just recorded this video.
Yes, clearly. So, I don't remember what the best card was.
So I'm going to give the very solid stance of not the best pack, not the worst pack.
Yeah, clearly it was.
I don't know.
This one to me was the second pack we got. It was exciting. I think there is some usable stuff in here, but I kind of rate it lower down. You know, kind of 4th or 5th out of the 6 in the Genesis cycle, to be honest.
Yeah, that's about right.
I can't remember any. Unlike What Lies Ahead, I feel like that had a few cards that really changed the game. This has a lot of nice staples, but I don't think there was really anything super distinct.
Plus Cyber Exodus is coming.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So
hindsight's 20/20 in the next pack is.
Yes.
You guys have any closing thoughts, or?
No.
I unfortunately don't.
All right. Me neither. Okay. So, Have a good night, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Okay.
Not like I set that up.
Okay. But for the
I'd like to throw it in as... Alright, let's see. Which one do I talk about? Here, do 1 net damage.
Okay. Yeah. Buy him.
So,
just like I loved Criminal first. Dang it.
So, last time we were trying to do Trace Amount. We couldn't do a couple of cards because my battery died.
Like modern guys that... Hipsters.
What card do you have in your glasses, Jeremy? The one thing that I do really like... wait, where was I going with this? Okay, yeah, not while it's recording, I guess.
No.
We want to conserve battery.
Save you editing time.
That's true.
That's probably not the best place to start for this pack, but that's the place that starts for me. That's
it happened to be card in his glasses.
You know this. What are the people that think they're cooler than everyone?
Snobs?
Not snobs.
I don't know, Nam. Where were you going with this?
Yeah, I don't know.
The last couple corp cards in Trace Amounts were 2 Wayland ones.
Trace Amount.
Trace Amount, yeah. And I corrected that on earlier off camera.
Okay. I lost my thought. I was too busy thinking about the archives for some reason. And I did get a new beer. This is one of my favorite beers. Banana bread beer.
Chum.
Chum.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Or is it actually a woman? No, that's a dude, isn't it? I don't know.
Blind out of gutter. Next.
And
they paid pick it up. The cards just weren't that great.
I love when it's on the deck.
Well, look at the
picture tells it all.
The picture tells it all.
Okay. Doesn't even matter. Just so
that has a completely different
effect.
Oh
well, okay. I'm sorry.
So if you put this, there's but here's the thing. All right.
For the other,
yeah. I think I would
throw in one.
Yeah, exactly. You throw in
one. Identifies this one for me.
It's a sore spot.
It does.
I'm sorry.
Well, it just
good.
It's
no, it's. Yep. I need an extra link, but I want to run access.
Baby.